Everyone is in their seats here at the Wells Fargo Center as the 76ers look to grab a win here in Philadelphia. This is Kevin Harlan with Clark Kellogg, Greg Anthony, our sideline reporter, the Hall of Famer David Aldridge. We've got a special treat for you folks. Now let's send it down to David Aldridge, standing by from the sidelines. David?
Guys.
He is tremendous size and skill to match, TA. Thanks. You know, Bill, when you look at the players the Sixers have put together, they should be a perennial contender. The Bucks look to take charge on their home court, and we're bringing it to you live from Milwaukee here on 2K Sports. This is Kevin Harlan alongside Brent Barry and Greg Anthony. We've got let's send it down to David Aldridge, standing by from the sidelines. David? Amazing to think. DA, thanks. We've already seen a few players make, Brent, a big leap over last year. Their hard work is really paying off.
The interesting thing over the past few years is just
We're broadcasting from Chicago as the Bulls get ready to take the hardwood here at the United Center. I'm Kevin Harlan alongside Greg Anthony, Steve Smith, and David Aldridge is joining us from the sideline. Looking at Chicago, they want to turn it around after that loss to the Pacers in Indiana. Tonight's matchup, two transition offenses. Steve, over your 14 NBA. basketball in store for you here at Quicken Loans Arena in downtown Cleveland, Ohio. It's the home of the Cavs, live on 2K Sports. .2K Sports checks in with our loyal viewers with the broadcast from Boston, the home of the Celtics. Thanks for joining us as we get set to bring you NBA basketball on 2K Sports. This is kept, and nothing tips off a broadcast like getting the lowdown from the sidelines. And we've got David Aldridge there for that. David, good evening.
Thanks.
All right, David. Chris, you played for 5 different teams, a couple of them multiple times. How long do you think it takes to feel comfortable in a new situation for a player?
I tell you, Kevin, that's such a hard tightrope to play. I remember
It's the NBA on 2K Sports. Glad you're here with us tonight for this Monday night presentation. This is Kevin Harlan along with Greg Anthony and Brent Barry. David Aldridge will be reporting from the sidelines. Today's game continues this Los Angeles Clippers homestand, and this is the first season matchup for them against this Clippers team. Already, Brent, we've seen a changing of the guard of some teams where a new player is It's a Western Conference battle here at the Staples Center in downtown Los Angeles as the Lakers look to work home court advantage. Welcome to 2K Sports, bringing you the NBA. Kevin Harlan here, and I'm joined by Greg Anthony, Clark Kellogg, and David Aldridge, who's reporting from the sidelines. And just a single game trip away from Los Angeles for the Lakers. You love to get the ball live from Memphis, Tennessee at the home of the Grizzlies. We're broadcasting from the FedEx Forum. It's the NBA, and it's live right here on 2K Sports. Along with Steve Smith and Greg Anthony, this is Kevin Harlan. And our friend on the sideline, Hall of Famer David Aldridge, who we'll be hearing from shortly. You look at Memphis. It has not been an easy November for this team, dropping 5 games and with only 1 win here early in the season.
Yeah, and they've taken some lumps here on the season, but really this is a team that may be a ways away from contention, and although it's early, they're still, I think, just searching for a
welcome everyone to this 2K Sports broadcast live in Atlanta. Buckle yourselves in, everybody. It's the NBA on 2K Sports. This is Kevin Harlan along courtside with Brent Barry and Greg Anthony. We've got David Aldridge. Hello and welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us on this Tuesday night edition of the NBA on 2K Sports. Alongside Greg Anthony and Steve Smith with David Aldridge on the sideline, this is Kevin Harlan. And with the road trip approaching, the Heat will play their final game of their homestand. And this is their first time matched up with this year's Heat team. And as things get ready to roll, let's catch up with David Aldridge, who's on the sideline. David?
Thank you, Kevin.
As hard as he works, great that he takes care of himself, too. DA, thank you. Steve, obviously every team wants to start a season strong. How do coaches and players create a sense of urgency early in the season? Welcome, everyone, to this 2K Sports broadcast from Charlotte, North Carolina, home of the Hornets. This is Kevin Harlan. We've got Chris Webber and Greg Anthony with us, and from the sideline, we'll be hearing from David Aldridge. Well, it was the Charlotte Hornets winning their last game against the Warriors in Oakland. You know, Chris, I don't know if we can call it unexpected, but a couple The crowd is coming here to Vivint Smart Home Arena, Salt Lake City, Utah, to cheer on their Jazz. Alongside Doris Burke and Greg Anthony, this is Kevin Harlan. And we've got time for a quick pregame report. With that being said, let's head to the sideline and our Hall of Famer, David Aldridge. D.A.?
Thanks very much. Well, Quinn's not
teaching and motivating. He's done a nice job, D.A. Thanks. We have two teams tonight, Doris, with a lot of experience between them. What type of game, in your view, does that typically result in?
Well, typically you see a very well-played game, very few turnovers from either side, a high level of execution.
Greetings, everyone, from Sacramento. The Kings playing host to a Western Conference affair here in the capital of California. This is Kevin Harlan along with Greg Anthony and Brent Berry. David Aldridge will be reporting from the sidelines. A quick trip here for the Kings, just one game away before heading back to Sacramento. Guys, when you compare their performance last season to where they sit right now, not a whole lot different story. Not necessarily a big surprise either.
And checking out Sacramento, they weren't part of the discussion of teams on the rise as we came into the year.
It's an all-Eastern Conference matchup in today's game as the Knicks come into town for this one. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday night edition of the NBA and all its great action on 2K Sports. With Hall of Famer Doris Burke and Greg Anthony, this is Kevin Harlan. On the sidelines, we have David Aldridge reporting. It's out on the road tomorrow as the Knicks wrap up this home stretch. It's been a shaky start to the new season for this club. Some challenging games have put them at a disadvantage with their record standing at just 1-6.
You know, the start of the season, everybody thinks they're going to be playing for a championship.
Two Hall of Famers. Doris Burke here at the table, and on the sideline, David Aldridge. The Magic are looking to grab one here for the home fans in Orlando before heading out again. They're still looking to settle into the new season, working on improving their record with each opportunity to try to pick up some wins.
Yeah, and they've taken some lumps here on the season, but really this is a team that may be a ways away from contention. And although it's early, they're still, I think, just searching for a winning formula and something to build confidence from.
Doors for a couple teams that had high hopes. On the road, looking for a win against their Western Conference rival, the Dallas Mavericks are ready for this thing to get started. And here it comes, the NBA on 2K Sports. This is Kevin Harlan with Clark Kellogg and Greg Anthony. We are nearly ready for the tip-off, but first, let's hear from our very own David Aldridge. DA, it's all yours.
Well, guys, Kristaps Porzingis has drawn comparison.
And Porzingis, DA, a good 3 inches taller than Dirk. He's a very unique talent for sure. Clark, you look at both teams, neither playing as well as they'd like. How do they turn it around, you think?
I think poise is critical, Kevin. I mean, you just can't get flustered. A lot of things happen over the course of a game. You got to maintain your focus. And
"2K Sports" checks in with our loyal viewers with a broadcast from Brooklyn, the home of the Nets, Barclays Center. With Greg Anthony and Hall of Famer Doris Burke, this is Kevin Harlan. And joining us on the sidelines, another Hall of Famer, David Aldridge. Back in Brooklyn, the Nets tip off the beginning of a... And we've got time for a quick pregame report. With that being said, let's head to the sideline and our Hall of Famer, David Aldridge. DA?
Well, guys,
Yeah, some lean years in Brooklyn, partially as a result of that transaction. David, as always, thank you. Doris, we've already had a few surprises this season. Some teams The Nuggets have a Western Conference contest on their hands as they prepare to defend home court. Welcome to the Pepsi Center in Denver. We're all set to bring you NBA action. With Brent Barry and Greg Anthony, this is Kevin Harlan, and David Aldridge will be joining us on the sideline as well. The Pacers look to take charge, and we're going to bring it to you here from Indianapolis, Indiana. This is Kevin Harlan alongside Clark Kellogg and Greg Anthony. DA will join us tonight on the sideline. Last game for the Pacers, they pick up the W against Chicago. Clark, plenty of speed and explosiveness on display tonight. When you widen your we've got basketball action from New Orleans, Louisiana, home of the Pelicans, here on 2K Sports. Buckle yourselves in, everybody. It's the NBA on 2K Sports. I'm Kevin Harlan alongside Greg Anthony, Steve Smith, and David Aldridge is joining us from the sideline. And with tip-off coming up, we've got just enough time to hear from our good friend David Aldridge on the sideline. D.A., take it away.
Well, guys, you remember that Anthony Davis had a growth spurt in high school that took him from a 6'2" guard to a 6'10" big man. Now, he remembered telling his mother, I can't fit in my bed, I can't fit in my shoes.
It's all paid off in the long run, though. Thanks, D.A. We have a long season still ahead of us. Smitty, as a veteran, how much did you look to pace yourself as the season? The giant fist of Joe Louis announcing Detroit as the setting of our broadcast today. We are live from the home of the Pistons, Little Caesars Arena in Detroit, Michigan. This is Kevin Harlan, and by my side, Chris Webber and Greg Anthony. From the sideline, Hall of Famer David Aldridge. The Detroit Pistons come into this one after the win against the Nets. And kind of a close game, only a 4. And before we get going, let's hear from David Aldridge on the sideline. David?
Thanks very much.
He definitely is tough to handle in there, David. Thanks so much. Kind of a rare matchup these days. C-Web, two clubs that do a great job of running offense through the big men down low, through the post.
Well, yeah, playing back to the basket. Basketball is kind of becoming a bit of a lost art. When you think about it, you can really play the point forward.
We are live, the home of the Raptors in wonderful Toronto. Kevin Harlan here with Greg Anthony and a pair of Hall of Famers with us, Doris Burke and David Aldridge. And back in Toronto following the road trip, it's the Raptors. It's live coverage of the NBA on Monday night. Thank you for joining us here on 2K Sports. Kevin Harlan here with Greg Anthony and Clark Kellogg, and our sideline reporter is David Aldridge. Looking at the last game for the Houston Rockets, it was a loss to Miami. And with tip-off coming up, we've got just enough time to hear from our good friend David Aldridge on the sideline. DA, take it away.
Well, guys, we know when you talk about dedication.
Tremendously competitive with great attention to detail, David. Thanks. Well, we have two terrific teams facing off in this one. Clark, would you say this is a measuring stick game?
I would think so.
Greetings, everyone, from San Antonio. The Spurs playing host to a Western Conference affair here at the sold-out AT&T Center. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to 2K Sports as we get set to bring you some terrific NBA action. This is Kevin Harlan alongside Suns are looking to defeat their Western Conference rival going into this game. Well, what better way to spend a Monday night than with the 2K sports team and the NBA? Welcome, everyone. I'm Kevin Harlan with Greg Anthony, Hall of Famer Doris Burke,
nice and
and another Hall of Famer, David Aldridge. Oklahoma City landed the Thunder in a fine Western Conference battle here at the Chesapeake Energy Arena. 2K Sports is proud to present NBA basketball. This is Kevin Harlan alongside Greg Anthony as well as Brent Barry. And we'll be catching up a bit from the sideline with... And let's go straight over to David Aldridge for a report before the tip-off. Hey, Dave.
Well, guys, Paul George has made a reputation as a dynamic two-way player. He said you can dominate a game in so many ways. That's always been my mindset. I just go out.
Well, you love that versatility, D.A. Thank you. Brent, some teams already failing to meet expectations. What shouldn't they do this early on?
Panic. I mean, sometimes it just happens, and sometimes it could take a winning streak. You might turn it around, a winning streak of 7 or 8 games, and the mentality in the locker room changes. The coaches maybe clue
Welcome, everyone, to the Target Center in downtown Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's the home of the Timberwolves, where we're broadcasting from live today. Well, what better way to... And David Aldridge is standing by for our pregame report. David, good evening.
Well, good evening, guys. Now, the Timberwolves are building something.
They're establishing a great culture, DA. Thank you. Well, we got plenty of youth on both sides. Clark, what's it like to be part of an up-and-coming team in this league?
You know what, Kevin? I think it's a mixed bag. I think it's both very exciting and on occasion extremely frustrating because you don't know what you don't know, and the lack of experience sometimes is more prevalent with young teams than more experienced ones. So watching both.
It's an all-Western Conference matchup in today's game as the Trailblazers come into town for this one. Hi, everyone. We're happy to have you with us for this edition of the NBA on 2K Sports. This is Kevin Harlan, and by my side, Chris Webber and Greg Anthony. From the sideline, Hall of Famer David Aldridge. Back to the road tomorrow. And with pregame routines coming to an end, we're just about ready for our tip-off. First, though, let's get a report from the sideline and say hello to David Aldridge.
Well, guys, undisputedly, Damian Lillard is the leader of this Blazers team. Now,
LDA, you can't get much higher praise than that. Thanks. C-Web, the guard matchup tonight. Plenty of firepower in both backcourts.
This is a guards league now. Maybe the greatest accumulation of guards of all time when you think about what guards and their impact is in this league. And that's what fans love to see. That's what I love to see. Sharp
It's game time in Oakland as the crowds at Oracle Arena look to cheer on the hometown Warriors. With David Aldridge on our sideline, and here with me, Greg Anthony and Steve Smith, this is Kevin Harlan. Well, it was the Golden State Warriors in their last game, a loss to the Charlotte Hornets. .2K Sports presents the NBA. Monday Night Basketball is coming right up. This is Kevin Harlan with Greg Anthony and two Hall of Famers. Doris Burke here at the table, and on the sideline, David Aldridge. Battle in the Eastern Conference, this D.C. crowd hoping to watch their Wizards come out on top. This their first look at this year's Washington squad. And as things get ready to roll, let's catch up with David Aldridge, who's on the sideline. David?
Well, guys,
Certainly one to watch, David. Thanks. We are seeing some guys who were role players last year, Doris, now stepping up in their games individually and becoming more prominent.
Well, I think that has to do with two things. First,
It's the 2K Sports pregame show.
And one of the epic nights in the NBA, we welcome you to the All-Star Game on 2K Sports. Ernie Johnson, Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny the Jet Smith. Tonight, we'll be watching the West All-Stars playing against the East All-Stars. One thing we've seen lately, much of the best talent to recently enter the league is now in its prime. We'll be watching incredible matchups in this All-Star Game, plus a few big-time individual rivalries. Should be entertaining. A chance tonight to see Klay Thompson do his thing. Clearly one of the best shooters in the game. Can also be a little streaky. Shaq, your thoughts?
You know, he has his cold stretches, Ernie. However, when he gets hot, he can fill it up as fast as anyone.
Underrated because he's a terrific defender. You know, he's always guarding the toughest guy on the perimeter. I think that might take away from his offense at times. And every slow night offensively, he still can help you win.
Standing by with the play-by-play, we get it down to Kevin Harlan.
Kevin!
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to 2K Sports and another exciting edition of NBA basketball. Kevin Harlan here with Greg Anthony and Clark Kellogg, and our sideline reporter is David Aldridge. We'll see the West All-Stars and the East All-Stars. And it's the West All-Stars to start out.